the sound of our brother or sister, you know, someone we care about and love, the sound of their voice, to hear it, I would suggest pay attention and notice that you don't need it. It's not what you're talking about so much. It's the tone of voice. It's the voice print. It's the relevant and unique personality of that person that is expressed in their voice. Assalamu alaikum. In a recent video that I posted, I made some references to the value of connecting with people that we feel close to and that we've connected to in the past, reconnecting and catching up and making an effort to bring this community at large that we seem to be part of. I feel that very strongly across the world, to reconnect with them if we haven't seen them, because I firmly believe, and I see more and more in the work I do, the deep impact that in many cases we're just simply not aware of, that have affected us by not having communities, by not having neighborhoods. With those of you who do have it, alhamdulillah, thank Allah for that. That's something to be very thankful for if you have that. If you have a chance to sit and discuss with, one, two, or three or more people over tea or coffee for a period of time or whatever, to have that connection that's so lost in the modern times. And what I was saying in the video is that in this Ramadan, I suggest, and I've been doing it myself before Ramadan even began, to go through my list of contacts and begin to look them up and try to regain and have another conversation with them. And what I referred to in one of the videos too, that I feel is really important, is the fact that while we have over 2,000 kinds of therapy in the country at the moment, and tens of thousands of people who will give testimonials for the benefit they've gotten from them, even so, I will suggest that the sound of the voices of the people that we connect with, ideally on a regular basis, but even if we haven't spoken to them for a long time, how powerfully therapeutic and healing that can be, particularly family members. And that's what I'm suggesting, is that we pay attention to the people that are close to us, that we care about, even if we haven't seen them, even if we've had a disagreement with them and we're not speaking right at the moment, to come back together and try to see them for who they are, someone that we've connected to, which makes them not exactly family, although the family are going to be the most important ones to reconnect to, even the ones that we've not spoken to for a long time. I know many families where the son has not spoken to the father or the brother for decades, and that happens for the nature of the human being and the sense of betrayal and the loss that they feel and the anger that gets in the way, and whatever it might be. In any case, I'm recommending it. And the other thing that I sort of spend a lot of my time with, and I look to, are the kind of the people that were remarkable in terms of their study and their discoveries that are maybe not even known. I mentioned John Ott in one of my videos, but the other one that I'd like to mention and relates to this thing of connecting and talking with each other, the sound. Hearing is the first sense that we develop in our mother's womb. And the person I wanted to mention is this man, Alfred Tomatis, who was a researcher. He wrote a book called The Ear and Hearing, and he wrote another book about his autobiography, both of them containing details about the kind of study that he did about the ear and how important it is. One of the things that made its way into the mainstream is that we must hear ourselves or we can't speak. He even went a bit further and discovered that if there were certain baffles that came up where we weren't able to hear our own voice, that we would even lose muscle coordination and proprioception and things like that. It would disable us dramatically. He also pointed out something that's the ear, the central point, location of the ear is right up here in the head, but we hear with every pore of our body, and that's evidenced by these people who are known as the echolocators. And I've shared that in my lectures more than once. The usually young people who are able to, they're blind. One young man in New York City who was blind and could ride his bicycle down the main, the highways in the city, but he'd do it by making clicking sounds. So he was working like a bat. Now, that's an example, one of the many examples of how we can tune, hone, and develop our senses, or if you will, our sensibilities, that are quite remarkable. I have other stories like that I'd love to share with you all. But here I want to talk about Alfred Tomatis, who he had results by discovering that we have in our, start off, we have to recognize we have in our ears mechanisms, it's actually muscles, that enable us to make sounds with our ears or make vibrations that will dampen, like the earphones that people use to dampen sound. We have that in our own ears, so if we're in a crowded room, our ears can adjust to certain frequencies that relate to the person we're speaking with, so that we can minimize all that excess extraneous sound. Now that gets, it gets weakened because it's muscle in the ear, and but that's something that we have in our ears, and something that's remarkable. But what Alfred Tomatis pointed out and discovered was that we also have, depending on what goes on in our lives, we have also what he would refer to as scotomas, blank spots, that is frequencies that we don't hear. And another interesting thing that he came up with in his research was the coordination of our muscles and the entrainment of muscle groups in our body, various parts, in the mother's womb, that relate to the phonemes of her speaking and the sound that she makes. He also points out about a tribe in Africa that when the mother is pregnant, she begins to compose a song. And every week or every month, something like that, she adds to the song as the child's developing in the womb. Now this, interestingly, relates back to what Ibn Sina wrote about in his Qanun of Medicine, which is about how influential what the mother is going through while we're in the womb and before we come out into this world. So this African tribe, the woman develops, and the baby hears her voice singing it. And then when the baby's born, the song is completed, all the verses when it's born, but the whole community sing that for that child that comes forth. And if the child's having difficulty, they do it again for that child. Now that's a deep communal collective wisdom, without a doubt, I believe. And so the sound of the mother's voice is one of the healing, either by recording what that Alfred Tomatis used for people who had deafness that was more than just within certain frequencies, but like even I think the famous one was with Caruso, the great opera singer, who was losing his hearing, and he healed him. And there's many other celebrities, back to that term, that were healed by that sounds that he would enable them to hear, to help fill in these blank spaces in the spectrum of tones. We know that the dog hears tones that we can't hear, too high frequency, and we know also scientists have seen and discovered that there are tones that elephants use to speak that we don't even hear. But the realm of sound and hearing is related. It's the first sense we develop in the mother's womb, and it's the first sense that becomes really important for us in so many ways. The sound of our brother or sister, someone we care about and love, the sound of their voice, to hear it, I would suggest pay attention and notice that you don't need it. It's not what you're talking about so much. It's the tone of voice. It's the voice print. It's the relevant and unique personality of that person that is expressed in their voice. Dr. Alexander Lowen, one of my beloved teachers, he said that some people talk about personality, that it comes from persona, from the Greek, and he's, well, maybe it's possible that it came from personar, that personality comes from the sound of the voice. And how many times in how many lectures I've said, particularly with husbands and wives and parents and children, it's not the it's not the words, it's the tone of voice that says so much. And so I would say, notice the sound of the voice and how beautiful it is for those you care about, and capitalize on that by having hamd and shukra about it. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.